Creepy, desolate and mysterious, these abandoned millionaire mansions once housed the super rich of society. Today we're taking a look at 15 millionaire abandoned super mansions. Number 15, Selma Mansion, Leesburg, USA. Sitting on 212 acres, this plantation home dates back to the 1700s and was rebuilt in 1902 by Elijah Brokenborough White, who hired some of the most skilled people at the time. Breeding racehorses became quite a passion for Elijah White, and he had one of the world's first intercom systems installed in the 20-room house. Jane Elizabeth inherited the home after White's death in 1970, and when she died at the property in 1975, it passed on to the Epperson family. Changing hands again in 1999, the home passed to Dutch businessman Peter Matten, who left the property abandoned and it began to fall into disrepair. Designated one of Virginia's most historic sites, Selma Mansion was on the endangered sites list for over 7 years. The mansion is now undergoing a multi-million-pound restoration thanks to a $1.2 million acquisition by Sharon Wirtz and husband Scott Miller, breathing life into this historic site once more. Number 14, Arlington Abandoned Mansion. Located in Natchez, Mississippi, this home has been described as one of the most important in the area, having fallen into disrepair in 1867. The mansion stands on 55 acres of unkept land and was acquired by a local sheriff in the early 1800s, later sold to real estate spectre Jonathan Thompson in 1814. The scene of a tragic death in 1819, its creator John Hampton White died in a yellow fever epidemic, and the great home now stands forlorn, and the great entrance lies in ruins. A far cry from being owned by one of the richest families, the sweeping central hall is full of rotting wooden planks, and many treasures of the home were passed from owner to owner as they died. The home was once known to have had a formidable library, and no expense was spared with regard to the decorating of the opulent space. The staircase once featured a grand marble archway, yet today lies in rack and ruin, while in 2002 a devastating fire ripped through the property and most of the upper floor and roof were destroyed. Today the mansion lies in ruin, a shadow of its former self, decaying and rotting, while legal action by the state is ongoing to try and restore the home to its former glory. Number 13, Darul Aman Palace, Kabul, Afghanistan. One of the largest abandoned buildings in Afghanistan, Darul Aman Palace is located about 16 kilometers southwest outside the center of Kabul. The palace began to take shape in the early 1923s, and even had its own railway line, with 22 architects and builders coming from France and Germany to build the palace. One of the first buildings in the country to feature running water, the palace was gutted by fire in 1968 and after restoration was used by the Ministry of Defence between 1970 and 1980. The palace came under attack in 2012 by Taliban forces, and after a plan to convert the building into a parliament for a future government fell through, it fell into severe disrepair. In 2016, work began on a restoration project for the palace to return it to its former glory. Number 12, Linwood Hall, Pennsylvania. Built in 1897, Linwood Hall was built by architect Horace Trombuer for industrialist Peter A.B. Widener and is falling to bits. Currently one of the largest abandoned structures still standing in Pennsylvania, the stately home is owned by the First Korean Church of New York. The whole site covers 110 rooms and sits on 34 acres, while it's thought to be on the market for a price tag of close to $15.9 million. Number 11, Villa de Vecchi, Italy. Commissioned by Count Felix de Vecchi, this 19th century property sits in the mountains above Lake Como and has a rather sad story. Alessandro Sidoli was the man responsible for construction of this incredible home, however he died 1 year before the home was completed. One day Count Felix returned home to find his wife had been murdered and his daughter was missing, and he later committed suicide while searching for his daughter. The mansion has now been abandoned for decades after it passed to his brother. Are you enjoying our video on 15 abandoned millionaire supermansions? If you are, then don't forget to check out another one of our videos, 25 female billionaire celebrities of 2021. Links in the description, on the info card, and as always at the end of the video. Number 10, Sansuchi Palace, Haiti. Located in the town of Milot, this was the official principal royal residence of Henry I, King of Haiti, and was built between 1810 and 1813. The residence accommodated the whole royal family along with their royal staff and advisors, and was one of 9 palaces commissioned by the king. Many labourers died during the palace's construction, and the palace was often the site of opulent feasts and dances. The immense gardens had artificial springs, waterworks, and although now lies in complete ruins, it is often visited by international tourists. King Henry I committed suicide on the grounds of the palace on October the 8th, 1820, shooting himself with a silver bullet, and in 1842 a severe earthquake destroyed much of the building. The remains were designated a UNESCO World Heritage Site in 1982 and was described as one of the most remarkable attractions in the Western Hemisphere. Number 9, Chennai number 81, Beijing, China. Completed in 1910 and reportedly built by the Imperial Qing family, Chennai number 81 was used as a church for imperial residents of Beijing. After the communists were victorious in 1949, a high-ranking official living at the home was said to have deserted his wife and fled to Taiwan. She is reported to have committed suicide on the roof of the home and is believed to have haunted the property, which has been abandoned to this day and ever since. The home has become somewhat of a tourist attraction with the city and is open most days for visitors, even though it is not on the official Chinese tourist trap lists. Number 8, Sunning Hill Park, Berkshire. Gifted to the Duke and Duchess of York, this 665-acre parcel of land on the stunning Sun Hill Park estate in Berkshire was spared no expense by Queen Elizabeth. The 12-bedroom mansion was built on the site, and other construction sites were commissioned, including several reception rooms, a swimming pool, and horse stables. Construction began in 1987 and completed in 1990, with the property gaining the interesting name of South York. After the couple's marriage broke down, they parted ways, and the property was sold in 2007 to Kazakhstani investor Keynes Rakishev for $19 million. Number 7, Elder Castle, New York. Commissioned by Edith Wharton's aunt in 1853, this massive mansion featured 24 rooms and had quite an impact on the surrounding suburbs. The mansion was abandoned in the 1950s and was later purchased for $120 million in 2016 auction that was listed as a 9-bedroom abandoned mansion. The home, which once featured a Tiffany skylight, now stands in ruins, and entire parts of the home have fallen down, with one whole side completely missing. Number 6, Halcyon Hall, New York. Featuring over 200 rooms, this massive structure was once a luxury hotel and was built in 1893 and later became the Bennett Women's College. The college went bankrupt in 1978 and closed its doors for good, being left abandoned for over 38 years before it was purchased in 2016. The new owners had planned to turn part of the 27.5-acre site into a park and rip down most of the dilapidated structure. However, this never came to pass, and today the structure remains crumbling into the ground. Number 5, Mayfield House, Ireland. Located in Portlaw, County Waterford, Ireland, this magnificent stately home was built in the early 1740s and was the family home of a local corn and cotton magnates, the Malcolmsons. In 1847, several upgrades were made to the home after the deaths in the family, and architect William Tinsley was responsible for upgrading the entire exterior of the property. The tannery close to the house closed in 1985, and there was no longer a need for the home, which quickly fell into disrepair. It has remained this way for the last 35 years, and almost none of the original interior remains, with the Italian-style mansion slowly crumbling away. Number 4, the Liu family mansion, Taiwan. Built in 1929, this large mansion was occupied by the Liu family that are reported to have abandoned it in the 1950s after a strange, haunting incident. One of the maids who worked at the property reportedly threw herself down a well on the property after becoming heartbroken over a relationship. This is not the only story as to why the property is derelict, however, and word has it that the ghosts of several Imperial Army soldiers who died on the site are also present. Number 3, Yckoff Villa, New York. Located on an island in the upstate New York St. Lawrence River, Yckoff Villa was built for William Yckoff in 1894 after he made his fortune selling typewriters. His wife passed away from cancer and he died a month later after just his first night in the home, which was left to his son but remained abandoned for 6 decades. Number 2. Bamboo Palace, Democratic Republic of Congo. Billionaire leaders don't always survive their reigns, and the same can be said for Mobutu Sese Seko, who spent over $100 million on this lavish palace. Nicknamed the Versailles of the jungle, this massive palace was built in the 1970s and included 3 luxurious residences that included paintings by Monet and Renoir. The palace had its own airport, nightclub, 5-star hotel, numerous swimming pools, and even boasted a replica of China's Forbidden Palace. Having embezzled $15 billion, Seko was deposed in 1997 and fled to Morocco, leaving the palace abandoned and crumbling into the ground. After the palace was looted and burned, the jungle has now reclaimed a once grand structure. Number 1. Chateau Miranda, Belgium. Built in 1866 for the Liedekerke Buford family, this massive home stayed in the family until the end of the Second World War. The Germans occupied the property during the war and part of the Battle of the Bulge took place on the grounds. The property was repossessed by the National Railway Company of Belgium and then housed sick and orphan children until 1980. After 1980, the property was abandoned and has since been slated for demolition, coming after a number of offers to buy the property were either rejected or withdrawn. Often a favourite place for urban exploration, the property had been damaged by fire and was collapsing and was eventually torn down and levelled in 2017. What are your thoughts on these abandoned places? Remember to comment down below and let me know. Like the video, check out more great videos on the next page, and subscribe for more amazing content coming in 2021.